it could play out a number of different ways. Let's say it didn't get to 13%. Let's say it got to 9%. Well, that's bad enough. 9% will cut the value of the dollar in half in about 8 years. 8 years is not a long time. I mean, if you've got 3 children and they're heading off to college, by the time the first one goes and the last one finishes, that's probably 8 or 9 years. So even 9% inflation will cut the value of the dollar in half in 8 years. What does that do to your retirement income, your insurance policies, your annuities, your savings? It cuts them in half, cuts your retirement in half potentially. That's one thing to be concerned about. Now, it might not stop at 9%. It could go to 10 or 12. We saw 13% inflation in 1980. So that's not unusual. That's in the lifetime of a lot of us, a lot of the readers and a lot of the listeners. They may actually remember that. So that's not out of reach. But of course, hyperinflation is something much more extreme. There are different definitions of it. That we saw it in a modern, large industrial economy in Germany in 1922. So everyone talks about Zimbabwe, nationalist China in 1949, Zimbabwe in recent years. We've heard about those things. But Germany was not Zimbabwe. Germany was the third largest economy in the world, a major industrial power, a major exporter, and they had this kind of hyperinflation. It was the result of bad policy and psychology taking over. It usually starts out with bad policy, but once people realize what's going on, they'll do the rest. They'll finish the job. They dump the money as fast as they can. You know what happened in Weimar hyperinflation? People were getting paid twice a day, not once a month or twice a month or once a week. They were getting paid twice a day. They would actually break for lunch. The wives would come down, meet the husbands at the factory gate. The husbands would get paid in stacks of notes, which had been brought over by the bank, maybe in a car or a wheelbarrow. They would run right out and they would buy a ham or a bottle of wine or a stick of butter or whatever they needed for that day, and then do it again at the end of the day. They'd get another pay packet. Of course, by 5 o'clock, the price had probably doubled since lunchtime. But the point is, if you got the ham, you got the ham. You don't care if the price doubles or quadruples or goes up 1 billion times, because you have, think of a ham as a hard asset. I think of a bar of gold that way. But once you dump the dollars or dump the Reichsmarks or dump the currency and get the hard asset, you're protected. You don't really care. You might care, but the money going to zero, the money hyperinflating doesn't hurt you anymore because you've got the hard asset. In the case of a family trying to get through the day, it might have been a ham for dinner. Then they'd go out at 5 o'clock and buy a loaf of bread for the next morning, etc. So that's how bad it was. But the point is, what are people actually doing? They're treating money like it's radioactive. I give you some money. I give you your paycheck. You're like, I don't want it. I want to dump it as fast as I can. And when I sell it to the guy when I give it to the guy who sells me the ham, he dumps it. He pays the wholesale. Money's like a hot potato. You want to get rid of it. The velocity approaches infinity, which means the currency approaches zero. That's the psychology of it. So it's not all about money printing. It's about changing the psychology. Now, you need the money. You can run out of money. That's happened from time to time. But it's the combination of the two. It's the printing money by the central bank and the change in psychology by the people that can cause hyperinflation. We got the money printing. We got $4 trillion. The psychology hasn't changed. But the point is, psychology and confidence are fragile. They can change quickly. And when they do, it's very hard to change them back. So that's why you need to be prepared for that. We don't have much inflation today. That's a fact. There's no sense arguing we do. The data says otherwise. But we could, and that's the reason to have some hard assets, not all in, not 50%, but have a slice of your portfolio in hard assets. That's your insurance policy.